What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Cruise News Show. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news. Well, today is a special episode. I want to talk about what it's like to be a cruise expert. That's me. I'm a cruise. Look, I don't think I'm a cruise expert, but I do have some skills that I use to try to observe what's going on in cruising and then apply some ideas to the observations and then to come out with some sort of commentary, some sort of speculation. And it's something that we all do. I do appreciate the fact that you guys come and listen to my speculation, to my observations, to my commentary. I love the fact that we have that kind of relationship. So first off, I appreciate you. Look, Malcolm Gladwell said that if you practice a skill for 10,000 hours, that surely you're on your way to being an expert. And then later, maybe he debunked that himself. But I just want to say this. I've definitely put more than 10,000 hours into studying cruise, into being a part of cruise, into going on cruise. And so I do spend a lot of time thinking about cruising, and a lot of people have a lot of questions for me. Could you speculate on when cruising will resume again? I have a cruise on this date. Could you possibly tell me whether or not, in your opinion, you think it will go? So there is a solicitation out there for my opinion when it comes to cruise, and I am happy to give it. I don't know that that makes me a cruise expert, but the main thing that I want to get to is there are some things that I do consider when I want to comment, when I want to speculate about cruising, and I just wanted to share those questions with you because I think it will give you a little behind the scenes how I personally come up with some of these ideas I have about cruising. And so I would love to share these questions with you guys today, and it's not comprehensive, so that's the beautiful thing about the community. I'll tell you the questions I use when I think about cruising, and maybe there's a couple questions you could add that could help me come up with a better informed decision. The number one question that I get asked is, when will cruising resume? There is just not enough data to answer that question. There's question after question that comes up. Here are 10 questions I wrestle with when I'm trying to come up with answers about the resumption of cruising. Question number one, when will the test cruises happen? This is a very important question. We had a huge roadblock until October. There was just a straight no-sell order. There was no opportunity to sail from here in the United States. The CDC on October 30th, 2020 released a new framework for conditional sailing where they outlined what it would take for cruise lines to start cruising again. In that outline, they put forth that cruise lines must go and have test cruises where they test out all of their health protocols. This has to happen on a ship-by-ship basis, and the CDC has to certify each ship that they've gone through this testing process before they can take on paying passengers. So if you have a cruise scheduled in March of 2021, you are a paying passenger, and so the first question you have to ask, on the cruise ship that I'm planning on cruising on, have they gone through this test cruise process? If the answer is no, then your cruise is at risk, because until your ship goes through that testing process, there's no way that you could be a paying passenger on that cruise. And so one of the signposts we're looking for, one of the signals that you want to see, is that your cruise ship has gone through the test cruise process. And right now, there's no official word when any of these test cruises will begin for any ship. So that leaves a whole lot of cruising in the lurch. It leaves a whole lot of cruising at risk for cancellation. So for me, trying to answer the question, when will cruising resume, one of the signals I'm looking for is when these test cruises happen. Once we know those dates, it will be easier to speculate going forward when actual paying cruising could resume. Question closely related to that first question is, how easy or difficult will getting certified through the test cruise process be? That's also going to affect when cruising resumes. Say a cruise line puts together a test cruise and the CDC says, well, it wasn't good, so you got to do another test cruise. So is the test cruise process going to be easy? Is it going to be difficult? Is it something that's going to be repeatable? Once you get a few ships through the process, can you easily get more ships through the process? Again, more signals as to when cruising will resume. If all of a sudden you get one cruise ship through the testing process fairly easily, and then you repeat that process and you get that second ship through the process fairly easily, then you can start saying, okay, look, maybe the broader fleet will get through this process easily easily and cruising can resume. But if it's difficult for the first few ships to get through the testing process, that will also add delays to paying cruises. So another signal to look for once the test cruises start is how easy or difficult that process is. So another question that I'm struggling with, and this relates primarily to Alaska cruising, is what is the Canadian government going to do? We are beholden to the Canadian government for our Alaska cruises, and they've already shut their cruise ports down until February 2021. So the question becomes, what will happen in February 2021? Will they open up Canada again? And if they open up Canada again, does that give us a runway to go cruising in Alaska? That question will not be answered for some time now. So anybody who has an Alaska cruise out there, there's really no signals to look at other than the fact that Canada shut down, and to keep listening for things like exemption to the Jones Act or to the Passenger Vessels Services Act. You're looking for stuff like that. But if you're an Alaska cruiser, there is a lot of uncertainty right now. And one of those questions is, what will Canada do? We just don't know. Another one of cruises' unanswered questions right now, at least in the United States, is what position are the travel insurance companies going to take when cruising resumes? Everything we've heard so far is, hey, we're not covering the virus. You can't get virus insurance. But obviously that's going to have to be a component of cruising going forward. We've seen it in the European model that the large cruise lines have been able to secure insurance, particularly around the virus. Who knows if that's the case right now in the United States, but many people like myself will not go on a cruise without getting travel insurance that covers so many things. It's just prudent financially to do that. And so the question becomes, will that even be an option? Will it be cost prohibitive? How will the insurance industry embrace the new paradigm of cruising under these health protocols? And will they provide an insurance product? There's definitely money to be made there, but will it be priced so much that people can't get it? It's going to be interesting to see. So one of the things I'm always thinking about in the context of cruising resuming is what are the insurance companies going to do? Another personal consideration for me is, will there be any restrictions placed on who can take a cruise? Will the CDC or the cruise line come out and say, look, people that are considered at high risk for this virus, we're just not going to let them cruise for a year. So if you got a comorbidity, if you're of a certain age, if you're overweight, then you cannot go on a cruise. That's a real thing for me. That's a real thing for a lot of cruisers out there. And so you could have your cruise just taken away from you based on your health profile. And who knows if that's the way it will go. There has been a lot of talk about possibly needing a certification from a medical person to say that you're safe to cruise. All those things will have to continue to be worked out. Certainly on the test sailings, they're going to be requiring a certification from a healthcare provider before you cruise. Will that continue into paying cruising? It's just an unanswered question at this point. So will some people not be able to cruise? That will definitely color whether or not you can go on your cruise, and that's a question that just doesn't have an answer right now. And of course, the big one right here on the tail of the election gets talked about a lot in the comments of my videos. Will the CDC's approach to cruising change under the new administration? Will the CDC, even though they've opened up a way for cruising to resume under the framework for conditional sailing, will they revoke that now, go back on what they've talked about in that framework, and all of a sudden shut cruising down again? That one's hotly debated, and that's just a question that there's really no answer to. We're going to have to wait and see what happens when the new administration takes over. Trying to look at political signals and try to get any kind of understanding out of that is almost impossible, because many times what politicians say and what politicians do are two different things regardless of their political affiliation. That one's really tough to look at all the signals and make some sort of determination. We just got to wait and see what happens. Again, I didn't anticipate the framework for conditional sailing, which is very overreaching into the cruise business. I didn't think the CDC would step up and say, let's start regulating cruising, which is essentially what's happened. I just thought it would be a go or no go on the whether or not to extend the no-sell order. And yeah, I was surprised when that framework came out. So again, it's going to be one of those deals that we don't really know what's going to happen until it happens. And there's a couple huge unanswered questions out there we haven't even got to yet. Before we get there, let me take a second to invite you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, Lido Loca. If you enjoy talking about cruising, if you like cruise news updates, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. Well, how about this one? Will you be required to get a vaccine before you go cruising? The vaccine coming on the scene in the next 6 months is going to be a big deal in the fight against this virus. But there's also two sides to that issue. There are people that are pro-vaccine. There are people that are anti-vaccine. There are people that can't take the vaccine. And now, will vaccination be tied to whether or not you can go cruising? Is that even going to be a thing? What does that mean for the person that can't take the vaccine? Are they just out of luck? Will the cruise lines, will the government say that you have to get vaccinated before you can travel on a cruise ship? That's an unanswered question with a lot of speculation around it. I don't think they'll go that far. I don't think that they'll require a vaccine, because not everybody's going to get the vaccine. But there's people of another opinion out there that say, yeah, definitely they will require a vaccine. So because that's an unanswered question, that's just one of those things that we don't know. But it will be significant when it comes to the resumption of cruising and who cruises. And so as the next 6 months go on, we'll have to see how the vaccination deal plays out. And in reality, the cruise company, they have to keep going. They've got to get these test cruises going. They can't wait until there is a vaccine. They do have a model out there where the testing and the other health protocols have worked in tandem to make cruising successful with a couple companies in Europe. I feel like they're going to be following that model, going through the test cruise process, because again, they can't wait for a vaccine. I don't think they have enough time to wait for a vaccine, and that's going to be an interesting question. If they jump through all these hoops with the test cruising, the vaccine comes out, and now there's a new requirement for vaccination before you can cruise. Unanswered questions. That's what I'm saying. Unanswered questions. I'm saving the biggest question for last. So if you're still with me, hang on. We're almost getting to it. A couple questions that I've contemplated a lot are around the new health protocols. There are people that are avidly against the health protocols in life on a cruise ship, protocols like masking, social distancing, testing, people that just don't believe that the virus is real at all. There's a good amount, or at least a vocal amount of people out there that put that opinion out there. These people probably will not want to cruise under the new health protocols. So it begs the question, if I have to go on a cruise and now I have to do the health protocols, but I don't want to do the health protocols, can I get my money back? That's an unanswered question. How will the cruise lines respond to that? And the second part of that question is, are there enough people out there that are so anti-health protocol that it will actually hurt the demand for cruising? I've done some informal polls over the last few months. It always lives around the 70% to 30%, 30% against the health protocols. Can a 30% dip in demand for the cruise business? Will that sink the cruise business? Or will there be enough demand with the other 70% with the limited capacity where the cruise business can operate? Unanswered question. We'll have to watch and see how that plays out. But that's a huge question. Will these new health protocols and the resistance to those protocols, will that help or hurt cruising? And the scary reality that we're dealing with is the cruise companies cannot operate forever. There will come a time where they run out of money. So there's a couple big questions around the cruise company and their money. We see the cruise lines in one form or another continuing to put their hands on capital, put their hands on money, pulling the levers to get more money in their treasury chest to keep running. The question is, how many more of those levers can they pull? How many more options are out there? The big question continues to be, how much money can they put their hands on, and how long can they last? All these other questions become a moot point if the cruise companies go out of business. And so it's a delicate balance of cruise companies trying to stay open, trying to stay operational to the point where they can actually start making significant money again. And if there's a mismatch there, if they're 1 month short on staying open before the flood of revenue comes back in, it's game over. We just don't know. We see these numbers, we speculate on the run rate. We hear the CEO say, I can stay open till the summer, but who knows? That's a delicate balance, raising money, trying to keep the business open, and waiting for the revenue to come. Look, the last big question out there, I'll throw out, it's more philosophical. We've seen our life change in ways we never would have anticipated, all because of this unexpected virus that has been plaguing our lives for close to a year. We've learned things about people that we didn't think we were going to learn. We've learned stuff about ourselves that we didn't anticipate learning, and we're just left with the huge question: how do we live? How do we do life going forward? And I do believe that the way that we do this is being mindful of each other, recognizing that we are all really in the same big boat. There's an irony there that we can't go cruising, but we are all stuck in this huge boat of togetherness in the globe. It's bizarre, right? And so it's easy to look inward. It's easy to think about yourself, but there is no one not affected by what's going on in the world. And really, that's the philosophical thing. Do we continue to look at ourselves, or do we look outward and try to figure out how we can help other people? Everybody's got to answer that question for themselves. And that's another question that you can track along with on a daily basis, where who knows how that question is going to be answered. But the answer to that question will definitely affect what our 2021 looks like, as it has affected what our 2020 looks like. The cool thing is, it doesn't really matter what happened yesterday. We can make decisions that change tomorrow. So there you go. Cruise expert, I don't know. Philosopher, I don't know, but appreciative, thankful here in the week of Thanksgiving, 100%. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch the show. Thank you for engaging in the conversation. Thank you for all the love and support that you throw my way. Thank you for all the challenging things that you throw my way. Very grateful, and I'm going to get back to looking at this stuff and observing and speculating and pontificating. I would love for you to do the same down in the comments. What do you think about these questions? What are some questions you have for 2021? Leave a comment below. Again, thanks for watching the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Please show your support by hitting the like button. This is Tony with Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.